Tonight, we welcome a legend, a pioneer who redefined women's pool. 17 world snooker titles and 4 world 9-ball championships, over 80 professional titles across 2 cue sports. Dominance, precision, fearless under pressure. It is our honor to welcome to Talkin English, Allison Fisher.
I'm Allison Fisher, the Duchess of Doom, and you are watching the Billiard Sports Network.
I am here with the one and only Allison Fisher, the Duchess of Doom, one of the greatest female players ever in pool. Allison, thank you for inviting us into your house and for your hospitality.
Thank you.
Tell us about what Table Talk is.
Well, Table Talk is going to cover a variety of topics. It's about my career predominantly, and also questions from my fans. I'll be covering a lot of that, so it'll be quite personable, I think. It'll give some insight into how I think, what I'm doing at the table, the steps it takes to be a good player. Just really covering the whole perspective of being a pool player.
Where did you come up with the idea for Table Talk?
Well, I've done Ask Me Anythings before, the Ask Me Anything episodes. And I like the idea of table talk because it can be done at any table. It can be at a pool table, coffee table, bar table. It's just an informal way to look at the game. So sometimes it'll just be me chatting at a table. Sometimes I'll be demonstrating at a table. Sometimes I might have a conversation with another player. So it's really all-encompassing. Go on.
Tell me about this statue.
Oh, that statue. Well, that's me doing a master. I'll take this. This is... So there's a gentleman in Charlotte who's an artist, and this was done a long, long time ago. And he said, would you come out? I'd like to do this statue, this bronze statue of you. And I'm shooting a massé shot. My three little balls have gone missing. Oh no, there's one. Fell into the pocket. But I'm missing a couple of balls. They would go there. And I just did a pose and he created it. So it's a very unique piece. I think he owns one and I own one, and that's it. That's all there is.
This is what a champion's case looks like.
From over the years, many years.
So this is your 30th year now that you've been in the U.S. playing with the competition. And how do you feel about the current competition now versus when you first came over?
Well, it was a different era, so it's hard to compare eras. The players of today are really a lot of consistency, a lot better, I think. Better, I say that. We were all good back then too, but I think there's more information available to players now at the touch of a button, and that makes the game a lot easier. And it's easy to get the information. We used to do it out of books, and there wasn't the internet back then, so it wasn't as easy.
So I really want to hear about your early years coming over to the WPBA. What were some of the trials and tribulations that you had coming over at that time? Was it still a man's game, or was women more?
No, see, I came from a very male-dominated game of snooker. That was very chauvinistic in many ways back in the day. There were lots of rooms that didn't allow me to play in them when I was a league player, just because I was female. So coming over here was sort of a breath of fresh air, I think. I was ready for anything. I'd been playing the guys all my life. Won women's events, and I was ready to just try something new. My goal was to become a world champion in a different cue sport. That was the goal.
I'd say you accomplished that, right?
as soon as I set foot on US soil and played my first tournament in Charlotte in a WPBA Classic Tour stop, I felt at home, and I knew as soon as I stepped into the arena, this is where I need to be, and I just fell in love with it straight away.
What has been your hardest match since you've been here? I know that's going to encompass a lot of matches. Is there one that stands out, maybe a tournament that you played in that was really just, at the end of it, you're like, man, I really had a hard time at this event?
I think there's been lots of those. It's about perspective. Like, you can go through a tournament and win it, But I was very sort of critical of how I performed. If I didn't perform to the best of my ability, then I'd be like, well, I won the tournament, I'm really happy with that, but, you know, this maybe wasn't working well, or this didn't go so well. So it gives you something to think about and work on and focus for the next one. So I was very realistic about the wins and losses. I think one that I'll never forget is playing Vivian Villarreal in the, what was it, the ESPN Ultimate Challenge, Santa Rosa, California. I was in the final and the winner got to play CJ Wiley. You know, it's like that battle of the sexes.
Okay.
And I lost 7-5, but it was, I'll never forget the two shots that I butchered, really. I played them as a snooker player, not as a pool player, because I'd just come over and I wasn't really playing it the correct way. I was using 2 rails instead of 3 rails, things like that. So I sort of lost through a little bit of inexperience, I feel. And I really wanted to play CJ because I felt like I was going to beat him, you know, because I was used to playing the top snooker players in the world at the time. So I think that was the one that sort of hurt the most, and it was very early on in my career over here.
What do you got there?
This is a very special picture because it has my dad in it, and this was from the 1995 National Championships prize ceremony, and I won it, and I beat Laurie John in the final and Robin Dodson in the semi-final. And the funny thing about that tournament was I shot the 3 before the 2 ball in one of the matches, and that was a bit embarrassing because it was my first time on national TV, so a bit of interest there. I didn't let it faze me though.
Still won.
Apparently not.
Still
if you
won. Still won. Good tournament.
So currently on the tour, you have Sophia and Savannah that are phenoms in the sport right now. They're what everybody's talking about in pool. Give me your perspective on them. Like,
well, I've actually just been watching some video on them, funnily enough, when I'm working out, when I'm on my treadmill. You know, I tend to watch a lot of pool and other things, but, you know, I enjoy that. And Savannah is really playing great at the moment. She's matured a lot, but she's on the road 24/7. So I think it's inevitable. I think if you're on the road that much and around the people that she's around that help her out, you know, and surrounded by her parents, which is obviously keeps you grounded and, you know, focused. I think she's come a long way in a very short space of time.
could they get burnt out being this young and playing as much?
That is the wonder. I don't know. Sophia doesn't, she's not on the road as much as Savannah. Savannah's constant. Sophia not as much. And then you've got Jordan Helfrey, who's 13 years old, who shows a lot of talent too, a very natural player. So I'm very impressed with all 3 of them. But I do wonder about that, because I feel like my longevity in the game, which has been multiple decades, we don't have to say how many, multiple decades, is because I never got really burned out, because I have balance in my life. If you had said to me, would you want to go on the road 24/7, you know, for years and years and years, I'd have probably said no. So I think balance has been good for me in my personality and who I am. I needed to have other things. I used to do lots of sport at school, have friends, have social, you know, times. But sport does take over. There comes a point when you have to dedicate yourself. Mine was probably leaving school at 16, and that's when I became more dedicated and practiced harder. You know, but being on the road a lot, you also have to have practice time, and you also have time to yourself. So everything's balanced.
So
and they homeschooled too, so that's.
How do you find a balance between your family? I know sometimes your mom goes with you to matches. And
I bring my mum still, and she's a few decades older.
She's a big hit when she comes out to the matches.
She loves it because it's social for her.
Yeah.
She loves to, if we're at a casino, she loves a little flutter on the machines, but the socialising is really important, and she loves to support me, so that's really wonderful that I have that opportunity, because she was there when I was a little kid, coming round with me to tournaments. So she's seen me through my life. Mm-hmm. It's been wonderful. It's a playbook. And my dad used to be the same way. When I moved to America, it was really nice because they got to come over and to another country and visit me and come around with me to a lot of the tournaments.
Did they identify at a young age that you were going to be like a
what was interesting?
Like a top player?
What was interesting about that, if I cast my mind back, is that there was only men that I was watching play world snooker, and I thought, I want to be a snooker player. There was no women, right? There was no role model for me to say, I want to be that woman there. So that was very interesting, because I would say when I was a teenager, young teens, I want to be a professional snooker player. And they never said, can't do that. They embraced it and encouraged it. And my careers education teacher said, what do you want to be when you leave school? And I said, I want to be a professional snooker player. And he said, yeah, but what do you really want to be? Because that wasn't a thing.
Yeah.
So that's kind of interesting, because now you could say, I want to be a professional pool player, and people say, oh, well, that's great, that's unique, but it's quite normal now. There's lots more doing it.
Did it have the stigma back then, even in your country, that it did here in the U.S. as a gamble game,
definitely.
a hustle game?
Well, not so much in snooker. Snooker was more of a gentleman's game. It was more of a male game as opposed to hustling.
Okay.
It wasn't that. Every player that I know that played snooker, it was a gentleman's sport. There was no hustling, there was no putting a person off. I've seen top players in the world, and I've also done it, that if you fouled and the referee didn't see it, you admit it on yourself. When I came over here, I had my eyes opened. I was like, whoa, what is this?
So let's touch on that. When you came over here, was there any, you hear pool players say, I got into a bad game. Now, I never really heard any stories about you gambling, but was there any time that you got into like a bad matchup that you thought you were the better player and just way ahead, and then started playing? And
it's not really my style. I probably had a couple of matches when I first came over, which the owner of the pool room put me in. But my play and my perspective is I play to win. So I'm not a hustler. I'm a tournament player. Like you one strike or two strikes and you're out. Because obviously you have A and a B side over here. When I played snooker, you lose, you're out. So that's what I was used to. I grew up as a tournament player.
So that really kind of battle hardened you for the double eliminations. It was,
oh yeah, it was like,
kind of was a little easier, right?
Yeah, another crack at it. Brilliant. Yeah, that was lovely.
So this is your trophy case that we have here.
Yes, we have, there's lots of things going on in this trophy case. Actually, I've got some balls there from various tournaments that I've won, but my very favourite trophy is from the World Snooker Hall of Fame, just because it's a pretty trophy, and it's quite heavy. But that's the World Snooker Tour Annual Awards Hall of Fame, so I was inducted into that. That was back in the day, pre my pool career.
As if it wasn't enough that you were a snooker champion, then you had to come to the
And
US.
then I had to come over
and take over 9-ball here too.
and try that. And then this is the WPBA Hall of Fame. That's from 2016. I got inducted into the WPBA, which I've been over here since 1995. So that's a lovely trophy there.
So I know that if I'm standing in the middle of the pool hall and I see the door open and Allison Fisher walks in, I know it's going to be like the record screeching to a stop, and everybody's going to turn around and see, royalty walking into the room. Do you experience that outside of pool though? Like if you go to the supermarket, do you get recognized? Do people come up to you and like, do you live here in North Carolina? Is everybody aware that they're basically living around a world champion?
I'm probably the best kept secret actually where I live, because I like it that way. But that has happened in grocery stores. It's happened at airports. Obviously, the pool world know me, but outside of that, the occasional player will recognise me or person will recognise me. But that's what I like about our sport. It isn't notoriety like a tennis player and golf. I mean, it would be great one day for all the other players to experience that. But in my lifetime, I've liked that little bit of anonymity.
So you like the privacy of having a personal life and a pool life.
An MBE, that's what I went to Windsor Castle for in England and got this from Princess Anne. I was in the Queen's Honours List in 2022. Unfortunately, the Queen had passed away by the time I actually went to get this.
That's amazing.
Yeah. So it's a member of the Order of the British Empire.
So I know when you go to tournaments, obviously you're there to play your matches, but also seems like you have a very good friendship with Christina Zlateva and Wei and Kelly Fisher. How does that equate off the table?
Well, we go out to dinner. I mean, Kelly's like a sister to me. I've known Kelly over 30, 40 years. So it's a long time to know somebody, and we're like best friends.
And they're not related, everybody.
And we're not related. I always call her my little sister.
Yeah.
I like to confuse people. But we're as good as sisters, you know. But at the table, we both want to win. We're both super competitive. So, I mean, I hate to lose. But with Kelly, it's different. We have a, really good relationship, understand each other, and we've grown up. We've had a lot of life go by, and I think there comes a point in the beginning where you can be very competitive, and as life goes by, you've gone through the different hardships, talk to each other about it, and your perspective changes as you get older too. Certainly for me, it has over the years, and I treasure the friendships that I've made on tour. Wei I've known since, who knows, we had so many Amway Cups in Taiwan over the years, and, she's a really lovely person. Christina Zlateva. There's a lot of really great people on our tour. Brittany, Caroline, there's loads. Many.
Every young lady I've met on the tour has always been just incredible, incredibly nice, very accommodating.
Veronique, Janet, there's so many great players and very nice people, and you get to learn that as you get older and have a chat with them and learn what they're like away from the table. Now, but we all want to kill each other on the table
until the match is over, right? Now I want to change focus for a second. Pool is now going into the digital world. Everything is streaming, and it's how can I get my likes? How can I get my shares and follows? Is Allison Fisher going to adapt to the new digital, or is it something that if you didn't have to, you wouldn't want to?
If I didn't have to, I wouldn't want to.
Yeah.
It's a lot, and it's a time-consuming thing. It's a different world than I grew up in. I'm really happy that I got to grow up in the era that I grew up in. I was born in 1968. A lot of great things happened over the years, and I used to play outside all the time, kick a ball against the wall, play different sports at school. I have a really good childhood. And nowadays, everyone's on their phone or their computer, and it's a different world. And I really am grateful for what I've seen in my world and grown up with. But if I could ditch a phone and ditch computers, I would. It's just part of the world now.
So you have guys like me. We're gonna do the table talk with Allison Fisher soon.
Yeah.
And is this about preserving a legacy, or
Yes.
is this? So what do you want to be remembered for when your career's done and you're relaxing? And what do you want your career? What do you want the player that's coming up now to think about Allison Fisher?
What I want to do is get down all my experience. That's what I'd like to do, to pass it on, to the next generation, or to the people who play now, people who love the game, people who love the sport. There's people who followed me since I came over to America. There's people who followed me in my snooker career. And I think it's going to be something for everyone. And I'm going to cover everything. I mean, I've grown up in a sport, and I've changed over the decades, and my perspective has changed, in my 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, So I think it's a real give back to everything that I've enjoyed, loved. So it will take you through the whole gamut of my career. And I think that's something that I'm going to really enjoy sharing.
Do you enjoy teaching the next generation?
I do. I enjoy teaching in general. Doesn't matter who it is.
Yeah.
But I have that patience, and I do enjoy passing on the knowledge. And when somebody gets it, that's really satisfying.
That's the rewarding part for you, is to pass the knowledge.
Mm-hmm. And then another Hall of Fame is the World Billiard Hall of Fame. Oh! Oh, it's so heavy. It's so heavy. Let's go
Allison
to the
Fisher's
table for
success
this
is so
one.
heavy.
Actually, what it is in here is a trophy for the World Billiard Hall of Fame. Needs a little clean up, I think. But then they gave me a gold medal as well. So this is the World Billiards Celebrities, actually. That's how I got into that. World Billiards Museum. And this is based in China. So this was the very first medals that they've given away. So I was in the inaugural Hall of Fame for that. So that's quite an honour. I've done a lot of playing in China over the years too. So that's very special. So if you go over to China, you can go into that place too. Have a look. It's a very unique, it's a museum. It's got pool and billiard and snooker tables from all the different centuries and how they, old cues, old chalks, old chalk holders. It's across the board of all the billiard sports. So it's a very unique place with some really neat artifacts.
All right, so in today's digital age, we have AI and we have all kinds of different programs out there that can do everything. We can even make it look like you're in a tournament. So why don't we put together your ideal female player? Okay.
That's a tricky one.
So if you had to pick a player's break, so we'll start off with the break. What player, if you're constructing a player, who would be the break?
For power, it would be Jasmine. I think Jasmine Ocean. And it depends what we're talking about as far as if it's the rack, the magic rack, or whatever rack we're using, stencil rack. And we're playing 9-ball rules when the one was on the spot. You've got to say that Christina Tkach and Margaret Fefilova mastered that break.
Okay. Who would you use for endurance? Who would be the endurance player?
Well, that's a really good one. Endurance.
Like if they're playing 14 hours, 15 hours in a day. All right, clip that. We'll come back to that.
That's a tricky one.
All right, I'm going to ask you
That is a tricky one.
table awareness. All right. Who would be for table awareness?
Well, I need to cast my mind back then of greats in the time that I was playing too, would be Ga-Yeon Kim. She was one of my favourite players to play because she had the all-round game. And she had everything, every part of the game, but especially that I loved the safety battles and the kicking battles. But I would say she was the all-round player.
How about fundamentals then?
Fundamentals, I think I like Margaret's fundamentals. Margaret Fefilova, I think she's got really nice fundamentals.
One more, draw shot. What female would you pick for the draw shot?
Ooh. Well, back in the day, it would have been Ga-Yeon, I think. Just control, I don't know. I'd pick Kelly for shot making.
Kelly for shot making?
Kelly Fisher for shot making, definitely. I think Margaret for fundamentals. I think Karen Kaur for consistency. You have to have Karen Kaur for consistency. There's no doubt about that. And then Jasmine or Christina Tkach for the break. And I'd pick, you talked about the jump shot earlier.
Yeah.
I'd probably pick Tkach right now, the way she's jumping, I think. I can't, nothing else, none other one springs to mind. I think Slatava's got a good jump shot. I think Tkach is, last few times we've played or observation of her matches, she's been pretty consistent.
All right, here's one for you, Allison. Spot shot. 9-ball on the spot, cue ball in the corner. If you had to have somebody shoot it for you.
For the $1 million?
Yeah.
I'd pick me at 30 years old.
Really? That's strong. Do you think at that point that there was nobody that could touch that shot with you?
Well, I would bet on myself, put it that way, for that shot.
Who has been your toughest opponent? your entire career?
I think Karen Kaur has been obviously one of my toughest opponents because we're very similar in what we do at the table and our technique and everything. And there's no doubt we've played so many finals over the years on ESPN. Ga-Yeon Kim, one of my other favourites, probably my favourite to play because she was aggressive player, but she had the all-round, so I really enjoyed our battles. And then Kelly, Kelly's a great shot maker and a great finisher. I'd say in the ideal player who finishes the best, it would be Kelly. Because that's a big hurdle. If you get that one chance, I know you're going to run out. She's probably been one of the best finishers that I've ever played.
What has been your defining moment of your career?
I think, oh gosh, there's been so many good ones. I think the Hall of Fame's are really special moments. But when you say a defining moment, is it a victory or is it a...
Whatever you would like it to be. It's your life, your career. What for you was a definitive moment where you knew that I was at the top?
Oh God, that's a lot. That's too many, I think. I can't say there was, this did it for me. I think winning your first world championship, when I won my first world championships in snooker, I was 17. And I went back to the hotel and I went and burst into tears in my mum's arms. My mum goes, Ali, you've won the world title now, you can quit if you want. But it was a release of pressure because the expectation, the work, the mental work that went into it and then getting over the finish line was huge. And that, when you've done it once, you know you can.
Do you feel that the women of today's pool put more pressure on themselves than the women of yesteryear's pool?
I don't know, maybe, because I think having had some conversations with people like Ava and some of the older players back in the day, I don't know if they had more fun doing what they were doing, I'm not sure. Maybe the money wasn't up there to make it more business-like. But I think with social media, everything is online now, you can see all the matches everywhere. And also the men players and the women players are becoming more athletic, sports-minded, coaches. They have coaches, mentors. It's a different world now. It's a good world, but it's also adds that little bit of pressure, adds another layer. So life is what you make it. Keep the balance there.
When does Allison Fisher say, I've had enough?
I don't think it'll be long away, just because of my age and because of... I still enjoy competing, but I think, there's other facets of life that I want to put time into. If
you could give advice to a 10-year-old girl right now that wants to become a pool player, what would be the best piece of advice you can give her?
I think 10 years old, I was on my little table back then and I loved it. So I'd be really to enjoy it, to really, I was trying to master things, but I think you're enjoying it, putting yourself around people that, help you enjoy it, that journey. Do all the right things, listen to your parents. They're there for you, hopefully. Mine were, for sure. Go to school, make sure you get your school under your belt, because you've got the plan B, always have that. And then just follow your dreams. I would set goals and, try and reach the goals. And we have an ultimate goal, maybe, and then we have the little steps to get there, and then work your way up the steps. And don't be in a hurry, because there's plenty of life.
If you enjoyed this episode, share it with someone who should hear Allison's story. You can support BSN even further by becoming a channel member. Members are the reason our live streams stay free worldwide, and you're directly fueling player sponsorships, event coverage, and the growth of the network. Become a BSN member today, and together we'll build the future of billiards.